Alright, what is going on? Today I'm going to be going over the top 10 superhero video games of all time, in my opinion. Now, this is going to include licensed comic book characters only, so no Prototype, no Infamous, nothing like that, no Ben 10 games, only the ones that are comic book characters first. So without further ado, let's start this off right here. First, number 10 is going to be Hulk Ultimate Destruction on PlayStation 2. Pretty sure it was on GameCube as well, and Xbox. But yeah, this game is pretty awesome. You got tons of freaking enemies to take out. You know, tons of cool moves. You're the Hulk, you're given things to smash. It's a really fun game. And honestly, it does get pretty repetitive, but you know, that's only when you're fighting some of the really tough enemies. Otherwise, you know, it's just so much fun to just go and fight the military as the Hulk. It's awesome that they made a game about this. This was made by the same people that made Prototype. Definitely worth checking out. Next on the list is going to be Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, this one is pretty low on the list just because of reasons I'll get into in a second, but this game's awesome as well, because you got the Venom powers, the invisibility, it's advancing the story from the first game, you're on the Insomniac engine again. I mean, the gameplay is just smoother than ever. There's increases in the kind of quality with stuff like ray tracing and 60 frames per second. It's just a really good evolution of what the first Spider-Man was, but I think that the story was very lackluster, which is why it's so low on the list. And also the combat wasn't very well balanced. All the Venom abilities were like really overpowered, honestly. And you know, most of the time the gameplay didn't pose much of a challenge to Miles. So that's why it's only number 9. Next on the list is Batman Arkham Knight. Now, this one is a great Arkham game, honestly. It's lower than the rest on the list, but it's still really good. You know, the gameplay is better than ever. The only reason it's so low is the fact that the story is paced a lot slower. You know, you have a lot more side missions to deal with, and it's not like the other games which were more linear. It's a very big open world. But yeah, you got so many cool things in this game. The gliding is awesome, the fear takedowns, the Batmobile stuff was pretty cool. Some people didn't like how it was overused, but I didn't mind it. Honestly, the AR challenges are more of a problem than me with some of the Batmobile races. But yeah, the gameplay in this game, the stealth, it's all just really smooth. Scarecrow comes back and he's awesome to go up against. Makes a really good story. You know, some of the missions like Ace Chemicals are just really fun and definitely worthy of being called an Arkham game. And also the environment takedowns, those are awesome as well. Everybody loves those. Okay, so for number 7, I'm going to put Ultimate Spider-Man. This is on the PlayStation 2. And you may be confused as to why I'm putting this above Knight. And it's, you know, like I said with the pacing, Ultimate Spider-Man is a ridiculously fast-paced, you know, just really fun cinematic superhero game. It's the first of its kind. It came out in 2005. And there's just so much to this game. You know, you've got Venom combat, you've got a ton of boss fights. The game's about 3.5 hours long, but every second of it is just really impactful. And, you know, you've got tons of different gameplay encounters, tons of chases, really good web swinging. Just a very good, streamlined, cinematic adventure, and I think it was the best superhero game to come out on the PS2 generation. Next on this list is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy, number 6. This game is really good as well. This came out last year, and unlike Marvel's Avengers, it's got a fantastic story. It's got really great gameplay. It's completely single player. You know, it's awesome using the little jukebox thing, I forgot what it was called, that Star-Lord has to summon music, and it gives you a lot more powers to use, and you could just recharge all your abilities faster and knock guys out. Star-Lord's guns are pretty awesome too, and you could just use your team, and it's really a good team-based game. The only reason it's not higher on the list is just that the story segments are a little extensive, and if you're trying to replay it, it doesn't have as much replay value for that reason. There's a lot of cutscenes. Number 5, Batman Arkham Asylum. This game is incredible. This was the foundation for the Arkham games. This was what started it all. You've got a fantastic, breathtaking atmosphere in this thing. You've got great boss fights against like Poison Ivy and Bane, and some of the Scarecrow nightmare sections in the game were madness. Honestly, Arkham Asylum is just a great game even today. And I'd put it above Night because, like I said earlier, it's got that really fast pacing and it just keeps you so engaged and invested in it. And there's a lot of indoor sections. There's a lot of like fast-paced switching between stealth and combat and detective mode and puzzles and that kind of thing, saving hostages. There's just a ton of variety in this game. You could tell they gave it everything. And that's why it's number 5 on the list. Next up is going to be Batman Arkham Origins. Now this is going to be above Asylum because it's got some of the advanced gameplay features that come later in the series. You got really cool stuff like the shock gloves, the gliding's there, and I love the story in this game. There's so many cool like moments early in Batman's career. Some of the people he meets at the very beginning, how people react to him before they understand what he is. It's a really great story. And some of the boss fights in this are amazing too. Like you got Deathstroke, you got the TN1 version of Bane, where he's just gigantic. Only thing that's wrong with this game is it's a little glitchy, but otherwise the music's awesome. Everything about it is just great. It's always a great time playing this game. Next on the list is going to be Spider-Man PS4. This is number 3, and you may be thinking this would have been number 1, but I'm going to explain why it isn't. This game is phenomenal. The story is hands down the best in any superhero game ever made. The story is just unbelievably good. The gameplay is great. The open world's great. The boss fights are really good. The web swing's amazing. You got a little bit of stealth in there to mix it up too, and some like Peter Parker sections to, kind of get a feel for his daily life. It's a really wonderful game in every regard. The only thing that might drag it down is just the fact that it's open world. Personally, I really prefer linear stuff. That's, people say linear like it's a bad thing, but honestly, I take linear and I see things that are fast-paced. You go from one mission to the next, you're constantly moving forward. In this game, sometimes you're just running around doing a bunch of side missions, and it can get a little repetitive when you're doing that. But, in the more linear stuff, that is never a problem. So that's why this game's at number 3. Let's move on to number 2, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Now this game, I played this a while back, and this is incredible because Wolverine's regenerative powers are just all over this game. He can get shot, stabbed, wounded, grenaded, and his body will get all screwed up and then he'll regenerate. You feel almost invincible when you're playing as Wolverine. There's a lot of great progression elements in this game too that kind of expand your regeneration powers and that kind of thing. And honestly, it's just so much fun just tearing a bunch of guys up in this. And it's also linear and super fast-paced, which it does better than Spider-Man. So you're always just moving from the next level to the next and fighting guys, and it's like a train, it never stops. And this game also has really cool boss fights. You get to fight the fat guy in the grocery store. I'm sorry, I don't have a better explanation of that. That's just the first thing that came to my mind. But yeah, you get to fight him, you get to fight the kind of ninja guy in the mansion. And you kind of chase him. You got the bar fight as well, and the Sentinel. There's just so many great fights in this game. Even the Deadpool, not Daredevil, Deadpool fight is great in this game too. Overall, just fantastic. Only thing that's stopping it from being number 1 is just the fact that it can get slightly repetitive. But for the most part, it is definitely not.
That all this is your fault. Your presence.
Number 1 is going to be Batman Arkham City. And what can I say? I mean, the story's phenomenal, gameplay's phenomenal, atmosphere's phenomenal. It has an open world, sure, but it's just, the main story kind of strings you along in a way that makes it very easy to play it like it's linear. And I just love that so much, There's just so much to this game. The Ra's al Ghul boss fight, Mr. Freeze, You know, everything about it. The Catwoman sections, the combat in this game is great. The stealth is great. It evolves from Asylum very extensively. You just got so many characters all over the place doing things. You know, Protocol 10. This is, honestly, in my opinion, the best superhero game of all time. And that is in part due to just how well-paced it is, how well-structured it is, how there's variety in the gameplay. All of the gameplay is great. Boss fight's great. It just doesn't disappoint at all. It does everything great.
This place is dangerous.
Anyway, that was the video. Hope you'll enjoy it. Leave your list in the bottom. Tell me what you would put at number 1. And I will see you next time. Peace out.